were talking about Sodom and Gomorrah earlier. God was bargained down to 10 people.
Yeah. That's actually why they go to Sodom, is to look for the 10 people.
But it started at 40?
Started at 40.
I mean, I just love the way they love the Bible, and it's the greatest book, and they swear on it, but it has these things that are like comically stupid and corrupt. I mean, God is so corrupt in the Bible. I mean, you can bargain humans. You know, he does things that are so capricious and cruel and, petty. I mean, he's very Trumpian.
That was actually something I wanted to talk to you today about.
I love it.
Bill Maher thinks the Bible is comically stupid and corrupt. What you're about to see is Jordan Peterson seemingly starting to change Bill Maher's mind right on camera. Now, you have to stay for the final few moments to really get the effect, but it's worth it. Why?
You're an academic, so I think you'll appreciate this. There's a compelling concept beneath the idea that one can form a covenant with God. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on this. It mirrors a deeper truth about human behavior. People are constantly negotiating with destiny. We're always making deals with the future. Here's what I mean, and this is something we instill in our children. We teach them that delaying satisfaction, postponing a desire, is a form of investment. It's a trade. You give something up now in the hope that the future will reward you for it. That's a kind of psychological contract. And what's fascinating is that this contract often holds up. For instance, if you pass on having that dessert tonight, you'll likely be healthier tomorrow. If you skip playing outside after school and instead commit 20 minutes to practicing piano, then years later, when you've become a capable musician, you'll reap the rewards. This pattern is distinctly human. We've come to understand that sacrificing short-term pleasures, essentially offering them up, is a way to secure something better down the line. That's the essence of a covenant with the future, and these themes show up in stories, especially religious ones, where this idea of bargaining appears over and over again. Take the Bible. Even people who haven't read it are somewhat familiar with it. And ironically, many of the people who revere it most haven't actually gone through it cover to cover. Omar laughs. It's a massive book, and let's be honest, a lot of it is just noise. Every so often, it stumbles onto something. Meaningful, sure, but come on, Jordan Peterson. Well, fair enough, but credit where it's due. It's important to remember, it's a compilation, a collection of texts. Omar. All right, let me jump in with a story. Here, Omar brings in his typical irreverent tone, his skeptical atheist viewpoint. We'll revisit that soon. But what Peterson highlights here is accurate. There's timeless insight woven into those ancient narratives, and that's part of what makes them endure.
To do something. It's a commitment to someone, in this case, God. About the only covenant we have anymore in society is marriage, and it's a covenant, a commitment to someone. Likewise, when Peterson mentions sacrifice, a sacrifice is made ideally with someone in mind. To sacrifice is to give of yourself for someone else. So yeah, I'm on board with Peterson that there's general wisdom here, eternal principles that are just true for anyone, but what really motivates them is a commitment to a person, in this case, to God. But stay with me, because I think you can see that Maher is kind of seeing some of the truth in this, and we're almost to the end of the clip. You need to see how this plays out.
Tell me what you think about Bible story. This is Jordan Peterson's
I love your Bible stories.
Okay, this is a Bible story. So I've been looking at the story of Jonah.
Yeah.
And this is a story that you'll appreciate. So here's what happens to Jonah. He's just minding his own business, and then the voice of God comes to him, and the voice says, "You have to go to this city, Nineveh." Because everybody in Nineveh is like, they've strayed off the path, and I'm thinking about wiping them out. But you could maybe go there and tell them like how foolish they are, and they'll straighten up, and then I won't have to destroy the city. And Jonah thinks, there's no God way I'm going to do that. First of all, Nineveh is a city of his enemies.
Babylonia.
It's a city that he's not allied with, and so he thinks, well, you guys can go to hell in a handbasket, and if God wipes you out, that's perfectly fine with me.
Right.
And then he also thinks, like any wise man would, it's like, I see, this is the task you have for me. It's like, there's 150,000 people there. I'm a foreigner. I'm going to go there and tell them how they're misbehaving, and that's going to work out well for me. So he thinks, to hell with that, like any sensible person would.
Jordan Peterson. He doesn't voice what needs to be spoken, right? So instead, he boards a ship and bolts. The thing is, God doesn't take kindly to that. If you're made aware that you've got a message to deliver, a truth to express, and you choose silence instead, well, there are consequences. A storm brews, the sea turns violent, and the entire vessel is suddenly in jeopardy. Omar. The whale part's coming up. Jordan Peterson. Exactly. The point being, if you stay silent when the moment demands your voice, you jeopardize everyone around you. The entire crew, the whole endeavor, it's all at risk. Now, the sailors start catching on. They figure someone on board must be out of alignment with the divine, and that's why they're being thrashed by the storm. So, they question everyone, trying to pinpoint the cause. Jonah, to his credit, owns up. He says, "Yeah, it's me. I heard the call of my conscience. I was assigned a mission. I turned it down. And now everything's falling apart because of it." The crew, they actually make an effort to rescue him. They don't want to throw him out right away, but it's no use. They eventually cast him into the sea, and at first glance you might think, well, Jonah's just getting what's coming to him. He kept quiet when he should have spoken up. Now he's going to drown. Harsh, sure, but that's one of the messages. Keeping silent in the face of obligation doesn't just endanger others, it could cost you your life. But that's not the end. Not by a long shot. Because there's more to the punishment than just the sea. So next, Jonah begins to sink. And just when you think things can't get worse, this monstrous creature emerges from the deep, dragging him further into the abyss. He ends up inside it, trapped, for 3 days. Now that beast, it's described as hell itself. It's symbolic. In the story, the whale isn't just a sea creature, it's damnation. Omar laughs. Religious metaphors just love their abyss. Imagery. Jordan Peterson. That's the key idea. If you're summoned to speak your truth and you deny that call, not only do you risk calamity, but you descend into your own personal hell. It's not just danger, it's despair.
Look, they were trying to figure out, by telling stories, how the state itself got corrupted. And this is one of those stories. So the story is, here's how the state gets corrupted. You're called upon to tell your fellow man, enemy or not, when they're not behaving properly. When your conscience tells you to do that, you're called upon to do that. If you don't do that, the whole ship will start to rock.
But do you think the ancients who were reading this at the time, and they read the story about he gets swallowed by the big fish or the whale, you think they got this message? They were like, yeah, but what this really means is when you're called upon, excuse me, I'm talking, when you're called upon, then you step up and do it.
No, I would say it's a step, and it's a dreamlike step in the developing of understanding. So before you fully understand something, you can represent it in a story, right? It's kind of halfway. A kid will start to understand something by acting it out.
They may. I mean, they may have gotten it, or they may have gotten it on an unconscious level, right?
They got it at an implicit level,
That's what
you get when you watch a story, is you get it at an implicit level, and it's actually very powerful, right? I mean, when people go to movies, most of the time, most people, when they go to movies, don't sit around afterwards and discuss what the movie meant. They just enjoy the story. Right. But that doesn't mean they didn't learn anything.
That means they don't internalize the lesson. Now, the people who originally crafted these tales, they passed them down because they were compelling stories. But there's a more profound question beneath it all. Why in the world was that tale so captivating in the first place? And why did it endure through time? So, what happens to Jonah is he's stuck inside the whale for 3 days, and during that time, he comes to a realization. All right, this is it. I'm in the depths. I'm in torment. I need to acknowledge where I fell short. I have to be willing to voice the truth I've been running from. Then the whale vomits him out onto dry land. He proceeds to Nineveh and confronts the people. There, laying bare everything they've been doing wrong. And as a result, God decides to give the city a second chance, to spare it from destruction. Now, personally, I find this story really telling. Sure, it's pretty rough on Jonah, going through hell and all. Bill Maher. Did he actually move to Nineveh after that? Jordan Peterson. No. He didn't relocate permanently. It was more of a spiritual journey, a mission. But he did go. And what's crucial is that the city was ultimately saved. And honestly, Bill, that's the brilliance of it. It highlights something I know you grasp, because it's evident in how you speak, and it's true for comedians in general. You understand there's an ethical duty, a genuine and profound responsibility to speak your truth. Now, someone might ask, well, what if people stop doing that? What if no one speaks up anymore? And that's where the story of Sodom and Gomorrah comes in. If not a single righteous person remains, no one brave enough to speak honestly, then the entire place collapses. It vanishes, and the same logic plays out in Jonah's tale. Omar. Yeah, Jordan's definitely on point about how much insight is buried in those ancient texts. But here's where I think he either overlooks something, or maybe just assumes it's so self-evident he doesn't need to spell it out. Blind devotion, loyalty for its own sake, isn't enough. Just giving something up for the sake of giving it up. That only gets you so far. What does carry you the full distance? What gives you staying power? Is when that sacrifice and devotion come from a real relationship, a meaningful connection. In Jonah's story, that anchor is his relationship with God. I'm not saying Peterson is wrong. I'm saying he's leaving something out. He's giving you the frame, but not the whole painting. Because when you dedicate yourself to the Creator of everything, that's where the strength comes from. That's what gives you the drive to follow through, to sacrifice, to open your mouth and speak when the time comes. Because then it's not just about duty, it's about love and alignment with the divine.